Today, just for YouTube, no Twitch, I'm recording my run in the Modern Showcase Qualifier. If you're not familiar, the showcases are Magic Online's premier competitive tournament structure, kind of an inverse of the RCQ Regional Championship structure in paper. You play a big tournament, costs you 40 qualifier points to get in. This event is almost 400 players. And if you top eight, it qualifies you for a 64 player event that if you get first place, you go to the Pro Tour. If you get first place, you go to the Magic Online Championship Series, which is a really high cash event. Very exciting. Really, really good to top eight these. I decided to record just for YouTube because I always feel like I'm losing a lot of percentage points kind of broadcasting what deck I'm playing, even if I'm using a hand hider. I just want to give myself the best chance to win these events. And I think it's also fun for me to be able to kind of freely talk about my lines, give it to you raw, unedited, and give you the whole experience. I decided to play the Warren Soultrader Phoenix Fleet Airship deck that we've been doing well with since the release of Avatar. If you've missed it, this is playing the normal Warren Soultrader combo, Soultrader, Apprentice, or Sephiroth Gravecrawler to just recur Gravecrawler over and over, kill your opponent with a loop. But it turns out Phoenix Fleet Airship is an amazing addition to the archetype. It's a 4-mana vehicle, cruise for 1, has flying. At the end of your turn, if you've sacrificed a permanent, you make a copy. So if you've sacked something to tower, sacked a treasure token, sacked a fetch land, you get a copy of the airship. This gives you 8 power in the air immediately. It's really easy to crew the airships with all like the Bowmasters, Apprentice tokens, Grave Crawlers. And so this is a card that's going to kill your opponent really fast, where you get to attack them for 8 the next turn, 16 the turn after that. That's enough just to race your opponents, especially if you play this fast off of a Phyrexian Tower. But this card is also just going to take over in the late game, where you just keep getting 2, then 4, then 8, then 16 airships. It's just totally an insurmountable board presence for decks like Boros and Jeskai to contend with. And so this card really compensates in a big way for the problem with the Soultrader archetype, where typically you had a hard time outgrinding these decks that are playing a lot of cheap removal and card advantage. Airship is really a card that just solos Jeskai, as I think we might see today. The last time we played this deck, we got second place in a teeny tiny Modern Challenge. We also went 5-0 in our first and only league with the deck, and I'm very excited to see how it performs in a higher stakes event. I hope you enjoy the ride. Okay, on the play for round 1, that is always good news. Gonna be kind of a reluctant keep for me. Pretty proactive hand with a nice 1-2-3 curve, lacking any kind of interaction. No Thoughtseize, no Flare of Malice. It is a top deck Soultrader away from comboing. Don't have Phyrexian Tower for like the fast top deck airship. Don't have Overlord, but I think this is gonna be fine. Hopefully the Sephiroth will get to draw us a handful of cards. Opponent is on a multi-6. Okay, after a good think, my opponent ended up going to 5. Kept 5 pretty quick. Gravecrawler, go. They're leading on a Spirebluff Canal, so probably up against Prowess. Sideboard's pretty stacked for Prowess. Board out most of the combo. Or the Gravecrawlers and the Soultraders leaving some Apprentices usually. Oh, not Prowess, Affinity. Affinity doesn't usually do super well in Mold 5, although, of course, having Land, Emissary, Mox Opal's pretty strong. Are we going to get turn 1 Kappa Cannoneered on a Mold 5? They need another 0 or a drum and a Kappa Cannoneer to accomplish that. This think makes me think it's maybe Springleaf Drum. No, it's Explosives on 0. Not a turn 1 the Kappa Cannoneer, not their last card. We top deck an Airship. Obviously just going to play our Apprentice. Do I want to attack? I think we still get to combo kill if we draw Soultrader, which is obviously good. I'm going to go ahead and attack. Just like I don't think they're that likely to block because any time they go down 1 artifact, that just makes their affinity cards and their constructs a little bit weaker. And they don't block, and Gravecrawler can't block, so the attack ended up being kind of nice. Also with the Apprentice in play, the block value is a little bit extra. So now we're looking for obviously Soultrader, but obviously Phyrexian Tower would be a nice pickup too, just to slam the airship, start blocking the constructs potentially. If they have a land as one of their last 2 cards, they can replay the Pinnacle Emissary. Arcbound Ravager, interesting. Okay, top decking this Flare of Malice is definitely really nice as a Kappa Cannoneer insurance. Because we do the Flare of Malice, I'm going to be interested, I think, in sacking the Servo token instead of the Gravecrawler, so I can sack the Flare, the Gravecrawler to the Flare. let's go ahead and see what happens when we cast a Sephiroth. Because my opponent, they might want to sack some things to the Arcbound Ravager. Because once this is in play, each time they sacrifice a creature, we get to drain them for 1. So this is going to significantly hinder my opponent's Arcbound Ravaging. Very unlikely this part stays in the edit. If you're hearing this, I forgot to cut it out. All right, they do go ahead and sack the Minmite. We're sacking the Servo. All right, so we are going to be able to drain them for 1 next turn. So we could attack into the Ravager, then they'll sack the drone token. Yeah, we have a pretty good attack with the Gravecrawler since if they sack they sack a drone token, we can I think we can flip the Sephiroth, right? So go to combat damage. Maybe they'll sack an explosives. Okay, they sack the explosives instead. So if I go sack Flare of Malice, this is the second Sephiroth trigger. Oh, I guess I have miscounted here. It's the second Sephiroth trigger. This is the third. I do like that this would kind of make it where they couldn't cast a top deck Kappa Cannoneer if they top decked one, since their last card is another spell. And of course, we also get a lot of we get a good bit of pings and drains here. I guess 1 ping and 2 drains. Yeah, but sorry, I don't know why I was thinking I would get them to sack the drone token to flip the Sephiroth. Certainly. Oh, and I guess they weren't ever going to sack anything else. Still, not a bad swing. Containing the drone token to 4/4 is pretty acceptable when we're about to get a fleet of 4/4s. So we're gonna get hit for 6 down to 12. My opponent's got 2 cards in their hand. One of them was a spell since they didn't play land last turn. They'll know about the other card. Looks like no Metallic Rebuke available, thankfully. And I guess I don't want to be attacking with Sephiroth and sacking the Apprentice because then I can't crew because I'm interested in crewing and blocking here. So we get a second airship. We will be trading. We'll trade an airship for a drone token. I guess we could if they play a land to hold up sink into stupor, then it's probably best to crew both airships just so they can't bounce the one that we block with. But it does seem like they're in pretty bad position. And, of course, winning game 1 when we get to bring in a bunch of culling rituals and potentially vexing baubles is nice. Now, they've made a huge blunder here by not floating mana in response to casting this Mox Opal. Seems like at the very least they could have casted the Pinnacle Emissary, just like kind of an easy mistake to make, but a mistake nonetheless. Okay, so seems like I'm not in a spot where I need to attack with the Sephiroth to trigger the airships, because we just obviously have this airship. It is certainly bad that we drew the mortuary, because now we don't get to surveil off this fetch land, but that's not really a huge deal. But yeah, I think in this spot we're happy enough to just kind of let these airships take over the game, especially because we're still not in a spot where Kappa Cannoneer top deck gets us. So they have another Mox Opal. Is this just going to be Pinnacle Emissary again? It is. So they could have played Kappa Cannoneer if they had it in their hand. Okay. So a Tormod Script does not break up the combo if we draw a Soul Trader because we have 2 Gravecrawlers. Don't think that they're very likely to make the attack. Interesting. So Yeah, it just seems like we still are not very interested in losing the Sephiroth for a card. Is it a good time to attack? Guess maybe I should have crewed an airship first. Probably, yeah, I probably should have crewed all the airships. It's a little bit weird because if they block, yeah, if they block just one, then we don't actually have blockers, but then we would get some extra triggers. And yeah, I think we'll, at this point, we'll be waiting. I think it's just fine to become the Phoenix King here. Airship's kind of weird because it is kind of inherently an aggressive card. You know, you come, it comes down, it's 8 power in the air, you attack for 8, you make 2 more copies, and you attack for 16. So like it's a card that like kills your opponent really fast, but it is also a card that gives you like a really big degree of inevitability. Like the longer you wait with this, you know, you're just gonna have a board that is unbeatable. And so it's like it kind of has a weird balancing act of it gives you a weird balancing act of trying to figure out, is this a game where you are trying to kill your opponent as quickly as you can, or is this a game where you are trying to let it take over? So I do enjoy that dynamic for sure. Maybe we should have second word. It doesn't matter. My opponent's dead. I probably didn't need to go through any motions there. Just kind of walking and talking. Okay, so we're gonna bring in the Vexing Baubles. We're gonna bring in the Culling Rituals. Not a very big Fatal Push fan against Affinity. It's sometimes killing a Construct is nice. Sometimes killing a Pinnacle Emissary is nice. But for the most part, I don't think it's like the kind of plan I usually like to employ. The combo is good against them. Bowmaster is very good against them. Airships are good against everybody for the most part. Not so good against like Storm and Titan, Belcher, but most other decks. I'm going to cut both Cling to Dust, I think. Although we could maybe keep one. One card I do think is kind of bad in this matchup is Overlord. Just pretty slow. And then like one big part of the reason why Overlord is in the stack is so with your like Shambling Gas, Phyrexian Tower stuff, you have like another big thing to hardcast. And so like at the top end, you're not just casting airships, you're casting Overlords to outgrind like Jeskai and Boros and stuff. But when you have Culling Ritual in, like you kind of fill that similar spot on the mana curve, and you know this matchup is a little bit less about that anyways, or not even so much about that at all. So I think it's probably just fine to do this. I think the first Cling is just usually good enough to like to have in your deck as a flood insurance that I try not to cut it if there's nothing else, but sometimes they're just kind of like every other card is too important. Okay, so we're on the draw for game 2. I'm going to keep this on the draw against Affinity. It's Bowmaster is very good against them. Having 2 of them is very nice, and then having Flare to like be able to deal with a fast Kappa Cannoneer is certainly a good tool too. We got a Surveil probably on turn 1, and we're on the draw against a Mulligan. If you felt like his hand was kind of shaky, you know, we're less likely to get run over. Another turn 1 Pinnacle Emissary into a Mishra's Bauble. Into a second Mishra's Bauble. Cracking 1, looking at their top card. An Affinity player who knows to crack their baubles is a dangerous foe, to be sure. Okay, nice. So they get pretty punished for cracking their baubles on their turn, right? They could have waited to crack the baubles on my upkeep, or they could even gone like upkeep, look at my top card, and then at the end of my turn, look at my top card to get more information than what they got. And now they've opened themselves up to Thoughtseize pretty hard. So okay. Now this is an interesting spot. My opponent has an Emery, which is kind of a dangerous card to let them keep as a card advantage tool. However, the Bowmaster contains Emery as a card advantage tool to a big degree. And they don't have another blue source besides this Sync. So I'm gonna take the high upside of just taking the sink and then them not being able to play Emery or any blue card for a little bit. They could maybe go emissary plus explosives on 0, but I wouldn't be too worried about that in the first place, I guess. Okay, they did also draw a Midnight. One thing that's kind of nice here is we don't need to like proactively kill a Midnight or a drone token because we know our opponent doesn't have any blue mana. So we don't need to worry about them top decking like a Kappa Cannoneer or a Thought Monitor or something like that because they can't draw that and the blue source in the same card. And so that lets us try to block the Midnight with the Orc token. And my opponent thinks, I think, for a second about playing around that and then realizes, probably not worth it. I'm going to go ahead and get a basic Swamp here. We do need to prioritize getting green mana for Culling Ritual this game, but I think our second Marsh Flats can do that, and there's a good chance that our second Marsh Flats could get a Surveil land. Although, if I want to hold up Bowmaster number 2 here... Yeah, maybe I just am shocking. At this point, I think it's probably fine to main phase the Bowmaster, just get their artifact countdown. Although I guess it would make a thought cast cost 2 mana instead of 1 if they drew a thought cast last turn, but they are still and if they drew a thought cast last turn, blue source this turn, then they could cast thought cast. We are also getting beat down. We're down to 7. Not exactly winning the race. It's actually a little bit weird. I think I'm going to Flare of Malice a drone token here. The difference between getting hit for 2 a turn and 1 a turn is it's like 50% reduction. Obviously we can't go like Gravecrawler, sack for 0 mana because of the bobble. But like this gives me 3 more turns. Alright, so they play a Fiery Islet. They found some blue mana. They have an Emery now. Maybe punish for the flare, but honestly, I feel like we're gonna like that we did that. The Vexing Bobble's turning off the Emery pretty hard too. So if I play this Urborg, then my opponent's Fiery Islet can tap for mana without dealing them damage. That's not probably something I want to lean into. I think we got to keep the Vexing Bobble right now. I guess so they can play the Pinnacle Emissary, but they can't play it with Warp. Warp is only from hand. It could maybe kind of scary if they drew the land. Yeah, maybe the Flare play was just really bad. Although, like, I don't know, I'd be at 5 this turn, and then I would be at 3 this next turn. I think it's probably a play we had to make. Might be wrong, though. Might have just been a big mistake. Or if they have like a thought cast in their hand here and they're wondering, is it worth it to cast the thought cast? I would imagine no. They would also need like a land or another artifact in play. In theory, they could set up to. Okay, they target the Mox Opal, which again gets Vexing Bobbled. I guess let me turn off my yield in case they have an answer to the Vexing Bobble. They have a weapons manufacturing. But the Vexing Bobble stops that from doing anything. Pretty scary card, though. Now we do have an attack to get in for a good bit this next turn. I draw, unfortunately, just another land. This also maybe lets them attack with the Emery, which I'm not in love with, but we got them down to 9. I guess if they had sent them for 2, we send them for 5. They send them for 2, we send them for 5, and we win that race. So they target the Pinnacle Emissary, which again they cannot cast for the Warp cost. Warp is only from hand. So it looks like they're realizing that now. So 1 more mana they can get the Emissary going, and then maybe kill me with the explosives. So they've made another like mistake where the Emery is tapped. Modern games kind of live and die with these little mistakes. Being able to win a game like this where we've drawn like 4 lands in a row, 3 lands in a row, we just surveilled another land into the yard too. Like Our deck is not helping us here, but our opponent is, thankfully. Our opponent's down to 4, which means if they leave just the Emery back to block, then we can sin with everything. They go to 1, and then they're in a spot where they can't tap the Fiery Islet, and they won't be able to tap the Fiery Islet at all because we didn't play the Urborg. Urborg, a card that does have more downsides than you think in these kind of situations with like fetch lands and to a lesser extent these pain lands, fixing your opponent's mana helps Domain Zoo with Domain a good bit. It's just a more costly card to play than you think. Although I do think in our Phyrexian Tower, which is Cottage deck, I think I'm still down to play one. But I play a lot of decks, a lot of mono black decks, and I get asked a good bit why I'm not playing Urborg in the decks, and it just does have more downsides than you think. So now the explosives can deal me 2 damage, but if they trade or when they trade the Emery here, we should be in okay shape. The Airship is a pretty interesting top deck. I think that we are not going to really we're not going to sack the Vexing Bauble to trigger the Airship. I think that's just not something we want to do. I think we want to put our opponent to 1 in a spot where their Islet cannot tap for mana. I think we'll cast the Airship still. But I think it's also important that the Vexing Bubble stays in play because it seems like maybe the main way we die. The Lava Spur Boots, it's gonna be kind of tough for them to kill me with that because they would need like Pinnacle Emissary plus a way to equip, but a mana to equip. But they haven't had Pinnacle Emissary, and they haven't had the mana, so again, it's just tough to draw 2 of the same cards in one draw step, especially when you can't Thought Cast. So I think we're very likely to win this one. My opponent, just very notably, the turn they tapped the Emery, the Emery being back, tapped let me attack for so much more. Okay, there's a basic island now. Can they cap a Cannoneer and haste? It looks like they can't. They could cast a Cap a Cannoneer, but they couldn't give it haste because they can't tap the Islet. So we win the match 2-0, despite getting pretty dang flooded that game. Bowmaster good against them. I don't know if it was holding off any Thought Cast in the hand, but pretty solid tool in the matchup. 1-0, 8-round event today. See you in round 2. Okay, we're on the draw for round 2. I think I'm going to keep this hand. We've got Thoughtseize and Cling for some nice interaction. Shambling Gas can stave off some early interaction potentially, and 2 good things to sack to Sephiroth. Opponent's leading on a tap Sacred Foundry, so maybe this is a bit more likely to be Jeskai than it is to be Boros, but we're about to find out. Either way, as I lead on a Thoughtseize. Second Shambling Gas, not an amazing draw, to be fair. Jeskai, indeed. So, seems like this Teferi isn't particularly good since they don't have blue mana. It's also kind of bad against my dopey little creatures anyways. I think let's go ahead and take this Fable. And then proceed from here. Notably the Teferi does pitch to Solitude, and my opponent does find blue mana. Okay, interesting. I think let's just go ahead and play, I'm going to play 2 Shambling Gas this turn. Well, I guess Gravecrawler Shambling Ghast is significantly better if my opponent goes Teferi Plus. If they go Teferi Plus, then we can attack the Teferi down to 2 loyalty, which will stop it from being able to minus next turn, of course. They go ahead and get a Surveil down to 19. Graveyard's a Flooded Strand with the Surveil. So hand is Teferi, Sacred Foundry, Solitude, Arena of Glory, Consign, and then a mystery card. I guess they can consign the Solitude ETB also to kind of scam it, keep it in play as a 3/2 lifelinker. Just be on the lookout for that. Did seem like they were most likely to play this. They go ahead and bounce the Gravecrawler. Okay. So we'll see if we get to just attack the Teferi down here. I don't think they're very likely to Solitude the Shambling Ghast. I suppose we could have maybe played the Phyrexian Tower first, just to be able to sack it. Instead, now we'll play a Sephiroth. We'll sack the Shambling Ghast. Draw a card. Maybe kind of weak against second Teferi. Interesting. Yeah, I think we should probably be playing a creature out here in case of second Teferi. Probably the Shambling Ghast for more mana. Definitely happy to draw this Overlord. Can probably hardcast it next turn thanks to the Phyrexian Tower. They play the Sacred Foundry untapped, so we know they have Consign, and they've got Solitude, and they have 3 mystery cards. So they've drawn, unfortunately for us, a Flage, and so they're hasting the Flage, and they're going to consign the Evoke, and they're going to get to attack with it this turn, which is not good for us. We don't have, if we had a Flare of Malice, we'd be feeling okay. We don't have a Flare of Malice. I feel like they are probably going to kill the Shambling Ghast, since that's better than letting me chump block. So we're only taking 6. Sad to not be able to use the Cling to Dust to get rid of the Flage here. I do draw a Phoenix Fleet Airship, which is an interesting pickup. Seems like I want to cast the Airship here. And then I do need to think if I am going to play the Gravecrawler so I have the ability to chump. Alternatively, we can use the Cling to Dust. To live from with the salt so we're gonna hit down to 1 with this line, right? And then next turn we can Cling to Dust to go up to 4, and then we'll have 4 airships. I think that's probably going to have to be the move. One thing that's kind of nice too is maybe our opponent would, if they have Ephemerate, just Ephemerate the Flage to try to go for lethal, and then we have the Cling to Dust to survive. Okay, so a Ragavan is presenting lethal. We need to Cling to Dust now, and losing the treasure token is is a little bit extra bad here, since I was hoping that might, I mean, I guess it's not going to be that big a deal. We have the Phyrexian Tower, but it could have helped us Airship next turn. So they have a Solitude, they have a mystery card. We're down to 2 life. The other thing, of course, is that my opponent can just kill me with the Flage next turn, and there's like not a good way for me to maneuver around that. I guess I have I could Cling to Dust again. Let's see, okay, interesting. Another Gravecrawler. So if I play this, I have 4 mana available, counting the Phyrexian Tower. Yeah, it seems like this. I just didn't play around Ragavan. I guess I should have, but it seems like playing around Ragavan by playing the Gravecrawler last turn to be able to block would have put us in a much better position. This is the position we're in now. It seems like it's not. I don't see a path where we can just survive the Flage. I guess. I guess maybe the path is on their turn, crew an airship, sack the Gravecrawler, Cling to Dust. I guess hold on. So Cleans Dust, draw a card, Flare of Malice. But yeah, we're just going to still be dead to the Ragavan. I'm thinking about drawing the Flare off the Cling. We would be dead to this. Okay, let's go ahead and go to game 2. I have liked the Jeskai matchup. I've found it to be not so bad. One thing that you do usually is you cut the Soul Traders and the Grave Crawlers, and you board into a more grindy game plan, and then the airships are usually really good against them, but against the hasty consigned Flage, it can be kind of tough sometimes. So typically I want to be bringing in the Vexing Baubles, and then Fatal Push is a card that you want in some number against them, where Fatal Push is going to allow you to beat Ragavan and Felia, and sometimes kill Flage. I also want the Graveyard Trespassers to help fight Flage. I guess we're going to be on the full 3 Fatal Pushes instead of boarding in something like Ashiok. Seems like a fine little swap here. Then the Apprentices usually play an okay game plan, crewing the airships, pinging your opponent. That seems fine. Let's go ahead and go to game 2. Get to be on the play for game 2. On the play for game 2, I think a perfectly reasonable hand on the play against Jeskai. I do find that you want to really try to hardcast your Overlord if you can in this matchup. Not always something you have the luxury of doing. Does seem like keeping a Fatal Push to break up Felia. Ragavan is fine, although the Marionette is really good against Ragavan. We also maybe would have a Flare for the Felia, so possibly that's not the best attitude to have with keeping the push. It's certainly not awful to keep it. I'm just going to play the Apprentice, pretty good against Ragavan. Subtlety would be bad, I guess. Yeah, they don't usually play enough blue cards, though. Yeah, so we want to try to hold this, hold it for one turn so we can Phyrexian Tower into it. Thinking about attacking this, I think our opponent thinking this long about attacking means it's very likely they have a second Ragavan in the hand. It doesn't really feel like our opponent would even think about it this long if they didn't have it. I'm going to play the Phyrexian Tower so I could theoretically Flare of Malice by sacking the servo token to the tower. I don't think that's something I'm very likely to do, but I think it could be fine to have that option. So they surveil. No Felia, potentially. I don't think I'm very likely to Fatal Push the Ragavan very aggressively. We'll see what happens. I think if they play Teferi, maybe we should. But they play a Fable. I think pushing the Fable token is going to be our move here. Pauses again. So certainly a pretty weak turn, but hopefully it gets compensated with the Overlord. Oh, well, we drew a Phoenix Fleet airship, so it's going to be right to play that. This is, again, the card in the matchup. Don't want to let them get to 6 mana so that they can Wrath Disguise X equals 4, but of course this card attacks pretty aggressively. See if they have a Flage to discard for some value. They do. They have 2 Flages to discard for 2 value. 6 cards in their hand after they make that play. Is it now less likely that they have a Ragavan? Maybe they were thinking about like solituding somehow. That doesn't really make any sense. All right, so if they have Ephemerate, we'll Flare of Malice. Yeah, it still seems more likely that they have the Ragavan. Like, I just don't know how they're thinking this long about all the Ragavan attacks if they don't have one. I drew another airship. We're going to hold that for, like, potentially post-sweeper. I'm going to go ahead and crew an airship with the servo token. I guess I would rather crew the token than the original, because I don't want to leave just a token, although I'm gonna have more copies. But the original is better because they have Teferi, Time Raveler in their deck, of course. So I'm going to cast this Overlord now. It's possible if I find like a Shambling Ghast that I'm going to want to crew my other airship. Bowmaster is definitely a fine pickup. Do I want to play Witch's Cottage? Let's go ahead and make our attack with just one airship first. I think I want to have 2 blockers available for the Ragavan. So they go ahead and surveil. What I guess what we would Flare of Malice if they Solituded and Ephemerated. There's a Solitude pitching a third Flage. This is targeting the airship. And then they don't have an Ephemerate. Okay, so we're going to get just one more airship here. Do we play this? I think the answer is yes. Our hand's kind of full of action. I didn't even notice we milled over Sephiroth. I'm going to put that on top, yeah. So Sephiroth is an avatar, and you can't return an avatar with an Overlord, so a little bit of an interesting tension, I guess. They flip the Fable. Flip Fable's a little bit awkward here, because now if they have Arena plus Flage, then my Flare of Malice doesn't kill the Flage. I still am operating under the assumption that they have a Ragavan in the hand. I could be overthinking it. They have a Riddler and Warp. Don't think we have much other information. We don't know. We don't have a good idea of how many lands they could have in their hand because they've been hitting every land drop. They do have the Arena of Glory. Unfortunately, we don't have. We can't flare to kill the Flage. We can potentially like if my opponent goes target a Marionette Apprentice with the Flage ETB. We do have the option to flare. They're targeting Overlord, which is interesting. I'm gonna go for a double block on the Flage here with both airships. With having the backup airship, I think that's going to be okay. Although we are at 20, we were at 23. Still seems like something I want to do here. So let's go ahead and Flare of Malice, sacking the Overlord. Are they thinking about sacking the Flage? Interesting. Okay. All right, double block. If they have another Solitude, it's obviously it's kind of a blowout, but we have another airship to still maybe get there, and blocks the Flage. Not too much trouble. So I think this turn, let's go play Bowmaster, ping the Ragavan. I'm going to go ahead and crew with the Orc army here. If my opponent could have killed an airship last turn, this airship, they would have done it last turn, so there's not really much reason to be afraid. Sack this, hit them for 2. Obviously, pretty good top deck there. And then they're down to 12. We're going to attack them down 5, down to 7. They are not going to be able to escape this Flage this next turn, I think. At least not with Arena of Glory. So they Galvanic Discharge the Apprentice first. This is going to drain them for 1 with the Sephiroth, putting them down to 6 and me up to 25. This does... Oh, this also might just be an energy ritual for Wrath the Skies. Oh no, it is. I think they might die, though. Because I'm just going to crew the airship, and I'm going to crew both airships, and then that's going to trigger the Sephiroth. I guess it's always kind of fun to crew an airship with an airship. Yeah, but this is gonna do more than 6 damage. Cool. So, will you concede? I deal 8 down to 2. Okay, so we're going to game 3. Don't think we've got really many other options for a sideboard plan. I was a little bit hesitant to play the third push, but thinking about it more, like being able to stop the like consign Arena of Glory Flage is and then like Graveyard Trespass. That seems like really, really useful. I like that if we top deck an airship, we can cast it turn 2. I like having Cling to Dust. I like having Fatal Push, knowing that our opponent probably has Ragavan. If they kept Ragavan in on the draw, they're pretty likely to have it on the play. They're on a mold to 6 on the play here. So certainly just content with this 7. It would be kind of nice to not play the Shambling Gas turn 1. So like maybe if they like play Ragavan turn 1, I'd be pretty happy to get to push it, because that would mean that if my opponent has Prismatic Ending, I could have the Phyrexian Tower in play to sack the Shambling Gas for some value, even if they have a Prismatic Ending. Obviously not the biggest deal to like, we could trade 1 for 1 with the ending, but and I'll still play it turn 1 if they don't play Ragavan. Just kind of thinking out the spots. And I have the airship. Let's try to play it turn 2. But just if they do have a Prismatic Ending, we get kind of blown out. So probably holding up Ophelia. So do I want to wait? Do I want to not play an airship this turn? I think because I can Shambling Ghast, Flare of Malice. If they go Felia Riddler, like my hand is pretty good at dealing with that. I think I should just jam. Especially when they're on the mulligan too. Maybe they have like Felia plus like another removal spell. Maybe they have Wear Tear. I think I'm okay just jamming the nuts. They do have the Felia. And like if they Felia one of my airships, then they're not Feliaing the Riddler, and if they and vice versa. So it'd be pretty interesting to see how this pays off for us. They play an Arena of Glory, so maybe I probably don't want to push this main phase. I draw a Graveyard Trespasser. That's pretty interesting. Gonna try to sandbag the sacrifice of the Marsh Flats for the airships. And then I think I also probably don't want to crew and attack with the airships. Like I don't have a lot more crew sources here, I guess. I don't know if that's exactly how you're supposed to phrase this, but seems like I probably just want to try to get these all creatures naturally this game. And I feel like I want to not get one of my things Solitude. I guess I've said this, and I've almost just I kind of just have even changed my mind already. Feels like getting an Airship Solitude here just would have been a good exchange. So whatever. We're here now. So we're holding up Fatal Push in case they have like Flage Consign. Awesome that a card like this exists that just like my opponent has gone Felia Riddler and they are very behind. They did this on the play and they are behind. Now again, attacking might have been the move. Like my opponent, like they can't go Galvanic Discharge Wrath this turn, but like it just is a possibility in general. All right, I'm going to go ahead and Fatal Push in response to the Riddler draw, so it's a little bit less likely that they'd have an Ephemerate to save the Felia. They could still Ephemerate the Riddler, but that's okay, I guess. Yeah, not really anything I could draw off the Cling to Dust. Them being able to scam second Riddler, obviously not ideal. I'm going to go ahead and cycle the Cling to Dust, draw a card. And then it kind of seems like I don't even want to play anything else into a possible like Galvanic Discharge plus Wrath Disguise. Seems like it would just be overcommitting. A bowmaster is kind of interesting. To me, it seems like in this spot, what actually matters though is finding another airship or an overlord. Like, yeah, those seem like the things that could end up like winning us versus losing us this game. Again, if my opponent can't sweep my airships here, and they would need discharge plus Wrath the Skies. If they can't do that, it's they're probably just going to lose. Maybe like double Solitude Ephemerate saves them, something like that. I think a single Solitude Ephemerate doesn't do it. I mean, I guess they could also like they can they can just remove an airship to buy themselves a turn, I guess. Could also Witch's Cottage the Bowmaster if I end up feeling like that will be a good top deck here. Six cards in their hand after they play Arid Mesa. Looks like maybe a Hasty Flage with Consign, which we no longer have the Fatal Push for. I think I'm about to get to show y'all a little trick on Magic Online. All right, so they're doing 3 damage to an airship. Obviously, we don't need to respond to this. And they hasted with Arena, so they're going to consign this trigger. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, once they attack with the other Flage, we're going to crew 4 airships. Now, on Magic Online, crewing airships is a little bit weird in this position, right? Because they're already creatures, right? They're already creatures. And so it's kind of tough to tell which ones you've crewed if you do them one at a time. So what you should do is you should go, I'm going to activate this crew ability. I'm going to hold priority. So you do them all at once. So this way you can see that this trigger is still in the stack, and you can kind of tie it here. Now, obviously, this is only a Magic Online thing. Just trying to navigate the interface, which doesn't account for all the peculiarities. But this is how you do it. Because if you do it one at a time, it doesn't really work. And then we're going to go ahead and sacrifice this airship to Phyrexian Tower. And so we deny the life gain, and so we can cling to dust also. And we have no way to recur the airship, so we'll just leave the creatures in the yard, which we have Overlord and Witch's Cottage for. And we're gonna go to blocks. I'm going to quadruple block here. And then we get to Graveyard Trespass the Flage. Probably will be. We can consider sacrificing an airship for 4 damage. Ooh, a Vexing Bauble is an interesting draw. Maybe I could have also Witch's Cottaged, and then I could have. Yeah, I guess Witch's Cottaging the Bowmaster would have been, at this point, good. Is what it is. But yeah, if we go minus one airship, I guess. Have I sacked anything? I guess not yet. So let's go ahead and sack a Marsh Flats to trigger the airships. I'm actually gonna not play the Shambling Ghast and get in. It again. Now that we're gonna have 12 airships, they're not gonna be able to very realistically contain my my army here, so I instead just want to put myself in a spot where I'm committing a little bit less. But if they do, also they've exerted their arena of glory, so they need discharge plus wrath disguise. They do keep a card on top, so they kept it on top really fast. So I'm now concerned that they found discharge plus wrath. Holding up Phyrexian Tower for discharge wouldn't have done anything. They're going to combat, like they maybe have like a different artifact sweeper. No, okay. Well, I guess I'm pretty surprised that they kept a card on top. My opponent would need to remove 4 airships. 4 airships for me to not be able to attack with all of them. So it doesn't seem like cottaging Bowmaster just so I have access to another way to crew. That doesn't seem very valuable. I'm going to go ahead and go to combat. Imagine getting Settle the Wreckage here. Listen, if my opponent has Settled the Wreckage, good beats. I have almost never seen that card in Modern, and certainly not like in the last 4 years or 3 years or something like that. Um, I don't think that there's almost anything like that that they could realistically have that I've seen. I'm just gonna trust my experience here. Again, Airship is just such a crazy card. The fact that my opponent on the play Felia Riddlered, and then the next turn they Riddler Ephemerated, and then they went Flage consigned the Hasty Flage, and they are just like I just played an Airship. That's the main thing that happened this game. There was a little bit more that happened this game, but for the most part, I cast an Airship. um, and it's just such a tough card for them to deal with. Yeah, the Solitude is not close to enough, and we have Vexing Bauble for any future Solitudes. All right, negative 22 life. We're 2-0. I'll see y'all at round 3. Good start. Okay, we win another die roll, and we are on the play for round number 3. Pretty solid 7. Gonna keep it. Gonna lead on the Thoughtseize. Our opponent is on a mulligan 6. Then they keep their 6-card hand. Let's see what they kept. So they are Izzet Prowess. Seems like kind of an easy Quarry Steel Cutter. They drew a 1-drop. Hopefully it's a Channeler, although they might get Delirium. It's a Swift Spear. They crack main phase, which plays around the Bowmaster nicely. Good top deck from them. All right, so if we can, we really would like to leave the Marsh Flats in our hand to trigger the Airship on turn 4. I'm going to hold up the Bowmaster. It's not super likely to be very effective here. So if I go Bowmaster ping, then they can Lava Dart the Bowmaster if I block. So it seems like probably not going to do any blocking quite yet. Dang, they also drew a show off. Classic Thoughtseize problems, I guess. Phyrexian Tower to cast an Airship would be kind of nice. Instead, we just draw another Airship. Not so nice. A Gravecrawler in the Yard's kind of fun. Now we get to play 2 of these, so we'll have plenty of crew members for our Airship. It is unfortunately somewhat possible we die this turn. Now the Airship is pretty good against the show off, though. It's just a big old blocker. So far, I think that we're not particularly favored game 1, and then once we board out the Soul Traders and the Gravecrawlers, things get a good bit better for game 2. Good to bring in 3 culling rituals to be pushed, 3 graveyard trespassers. Oh, the Vexing Baubles are also pretty good too. They counter mutagenic growth, bauble, lava dart flashback, and then sometimes a slickshot show off plot. Yeah, things have to line up like particularly well though. Oh, very interesting. They're letting me block with an Orc Army token and not using the lava dart to clear my blockers. They could have got in for a good bit more damage. So they go ahead and kill the Orc. Us surveilling that second Gravecrawler in the yard might end up saving us this game. We'll see. Seems like they are thinking about flashing back the dart. Again, I do think that they should have just cleared both, and then this would have hit for 4 plus 7. You know, that put me down to 4 total. They dart me, thinking the Gravecrawlers are irrelevant. And then they have a mutagenic growth, which is going to be another 4 damage. So they have missed lethal, I think. I think they've missed lethal. Going down to 2 life is it's a little bit scary. Not going to Witch's Cottage the Orcs, but we are going to have 2 good blockers here. Now, as far as Soultrader combo goes, being at this life total, only possible with the Sephiroth. Yeah, their draws post Thoughtseize were pretty dang good. So we're dead to a Bolt, we're dead to a Lava Dart. Although I guess only dead this turn if they also have a Mountain. They have a Scalding Tarn. Kind of feels like we're dying to Unholy Heat here, which more and more sees play in the main deck, although it might be something else. Obviously, we're going to go through the motions of trying to block. But Mutagenic Growth, which is targeting the Swift Spear, this means the show-off is going to die. And they have 1 card in their hand. Okay, so not so bad. We draw an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. So if I go play Soultrader for 3 mana, sack a Gravecaller, I'm not going to have enough mana to get a Phoenix Fleet token copy. Still, I think playing an Airship as a 4/4 blocker is just better than a 3/3 here, and we can attack for 2. Although I guess, you know, maybe being able to attack for 4 is better. Imagine my opponent surveils. Probably not a Dart or a Bolt if they are thinking this long. Although they do keep a card on top. Maybe it's like a show off. It's a Steel Cutter. So if their last card is a 1 or 0 mana spell, I lose. Yep, lose to that. Just two lethal attackers. Oh, we'll make them kill us, you know. Might as well. So pretty close, pretty close. You know, if we had drawn like a fetch land this turn, we could have blocked both this turn and then attacked with the airships. I don't think that they can realistically play around a Fatal Push, so. Although maybe if they like bobble themselves and they see a Bolt on top, they might. They do bobble me. And they find the attack, and we go to game 2, down a game. So interested in big sideboard changes, I think. Probably just the full 11, cutting all of the Soultraders, all of the Apprentices, and all of the Gravecrawlers. Now, we could leave in Apprentices and cut some Thoughtseizes instead. A couple things on that. Thoughtseize, pretty nice to answer Steel Cutter, although with the culling rituals, it's a little less important. Overlord of the Belmark could also be more of a weak link, too. Let's think a little bit about Marionette Apprentice. Is this card? I think this card's just pretty bad against them. Like, it just does not block very effectively. It does crew airships, which can be kind of nice, but I don't think that's that important. I think it's probably just the weakest link. Thinking about it some more. Yeah, seems like this is just going to be the plan. Thoughtseize also sometimes good against show off, sometimes good against expressive iteration. In addition to steel cutter, maybe we could even like take a spell pierce that they're holding for an airship or a culling ritual. Okay, gonna keep this on 7 on the play. Leading on Vexing Bobble to say no Mishra's Bobbles for you this game is probably fine, especially because we have a Fatal Push to deal with a Channeler or a Swift Spear. We should probably prioritize getting a green source off the Marsh Flats too. Sad not to be able to capitalize on a win there despite my opponent missing lethal, but wasn't in the cards, I think. So yeah, they do have the Mishra's Bobble, and they are also telling us they don't have any like shatter effects in their deck. They're not gonna be able to kill Vexing Bobble, so they're just gonna surveil. Which also means that they probably this is also them telling us that they can't remove an airship. Not sure how important that's going to be, but somewhat important. All right, let's Thoughtseize first. Need to take a steel cutter if they have one. They probably don't have one though. Oh my gosh. Well, this Vexing Bobble was a nice little 3-for-1, huh? I'm gonna go ahead and main phase the Fatal Push. Although I meant to get my Overgun too, and probably will be okay. But I see a lot of people just not kill the Channeler main phase. You just can't let your opponent surveil. You just don't let them surveil. Now my Graveyard Trespasser is not okay. This will give me green mana. This isn't going to be great. It's still going to be like a 2-for-1, but they're going to be able to discard a Mutagenic Growth. I still think I'm supposed to just play it here, drain them for 1, let them heat. We have more Graveyard Trespassers. We have Overlord of the Belmerks to top deck. I think it's just okay to let this exchange happen. They do put a Scalding Tart in the graveyard, and then they don't Unholy Heat the Trespasser. Interesting. There's a tapped Stomping Ground. And we do draw an Overlord of the Balemerc. Looks like we're going to be... they're letting us attack also. Seems our opponent's maybe just given up. Okay, and then they no longer have Delirium. Listen, my opponent wants to give up. They can give up. We're 2-0 in a showcase. Oh yeah, I'm just going to play this so I can hardcast Overlord next turn. But yeah, they did not seem very interested in playing this game. Although they find a Steel Cutter. A really good Vexing Bobble. Possible we could be main decking some Vexing Bobbles, a little bit of tension with the flares. Taking 2 down to 17. Their hand is... Wait, sorry. The Unholy Heat's... Oh, wait. I forgot I Thoughtseize the Unholy Heat because that was the only card. Sorry. This whole time I'm like, why aren't they heating? They don't have... They forgot I took it. I forgot that their hand was that bad, I guess. Which is good news for me. Albeit a little embarrassing. Maybe the best. I guess I wouldn't say it's the best I've ever seen Vexing Bubble be against Prowess because I did have a match where my opponent plotted a show off and I didn't have an answer for it and I top decked the Vexing Bobble and the game just ended. But can really get them. Sometimes it doesn't do that much though. Like a lot of times you get in a spot where they care not so much about their spells resolving, they just care about casting spells. So their Lava Dart Flashback also gets countered. Their Mutagenic Growths. Oh, one of their Mutagenic Growths can resolve because they have a Stomping Ground. So if they attack with the new one, yeah, they can make it to where my Overlord is just chumping, but I can just not block and kill them on the backswing. We know their exact 2 cards. I'm not dead, right? To this is going to be Resolve Mutagenic Growth puts this to 6 power, then this to 3, and then 2 more. It's 11. I'm at 16. You know, just not block, and then we'll attack. I think it's a good attack from them, though. I don't think they're really winning this game if they are playing defense here. I think just hoping I make a mistake is their only move with how poorly their draw lined up against the Vexing Bauble. All right, game 3 on the draw. Pretty fast match so far. Being on the draw against Prowess, always a little intimidating, but I feel like I came as prepared for the matchup as you can kind of realistically do. Again, this deck sideboard's a little bit weird, but I think it's good. It's like really good to have the combo game 1 because your really bad matchups like Storm, Titan, Eldrazi, these matchups just get so much better because you have access to this combo. And then in these grindy matchups, it's nice to just to board out of it. I found this to be pretty good. Okay, my opponent's on a mold of 6. I'm probably going to keep this hand. I know it's weird. But like I think in general, we're unfavored on the draw in this matchup. I think we're good against them. On the play on the draw, it's tough. Hold on. I'm going to go ahead and do the math though before I click the keep button. I think it's probably going to be a keep. 1 second. So in these spots while we're playing online, and I think you are technically allowed to do this in paper, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. We're not going to survive. We're going to Thoughtseize or push turn 1, probably Thoughtseize, even if they play a creature. So I have a 53 card deck, and then we're going to see if I could draw a land in the top 2. I have 22 lands left in the deck, although I'm going to fetch to thin, so it's kind of like I guess, can we do 21.5? Because we're going to have those full 22 on the first draw and then 1 less on the second. I don't know if that's right. But we're 64% to draw a land. This is also a hand that, like, depending on how weak... They're on a mulligan to 6. So they could be really weak to Thoughtseize. Depending on how weak they are to Thoughtseize, we could even, like, pretty comfortably have an extra turn to draw a land, which would put us up to 80%. And having access to Thoughtseize against the mulligan to 6 is nice. Having access to push is huge. It's just... I think that this is going to be mathematically a keep for me. I think that this is a tough matchup to mulligan in. This is a matchup where it's hard to keep a hand without early interaction. This hand has early interaction. They're more likely to be weak to it on the mulligan. I'm just going to keep these a lot of the time. And you'll see me do this really often in spots where I feel like I am unfavored. If I feel like I'm unfavored, and we hit the land, thankfully, I'm going to Thoughtseize, maybe I can Bowmaster the Channeler. If I feel like I'm unfavored, I'm way more likely to take a line like this. Interesting. I guess we take the Mutagenic Growth so I can Bowmaster the Channeler. Like if I feel like I'm in a spot where, like, if all things are even, if I'm unfavored, like 45% to win or whatever, you'll see I'm way more likely to keep a high risk hand like this. I'm way more likely to keep a high risk hand because, like in matchups in Modern where you're unfavored, you kind of need like more specific things to go your way in order to win, right? And so if that's the case, you have to put yourself in a position where those things are the most likely to happen. And that's, keeping a hand that has the cheap interaction you need against Prowess in this case. Okay, so I'm going to try to Bowmaster them after they fetch. I think they're very likely to fetch because of Surveil lands. This, Surveil lands pretty big change to Modern, of course. There's a lot you could say about them. One thing that makes it kind of more interesting is you get to make these plays more often, where your opponent's just going to fetch end of turn because they want their Surveil, and they're just not going to play around something like a Bowmaster here. But if fetch lands didn't exist, my opponent shouldn't fetch, or Surveil lands didn't exist, my opponent shouldn't fetch here because they could use, they in response to the Bowmaster, they could go dart it, flash it back, trying to save the Channeler by finding Delirium off the Surveils. But they just can't do that. Okay, then they boarded in Pick Your Poison, seems for game 3. Because of the Vexing Bauble. I don't think they probably had it in their deck last game. And this is the main card we didn't want to see. Kind of a disaster. We'll certainly Thoughtseize the Lightning Bolt. Down to 11 life. Play a Shambling Ghast. And then I'm going to go ahead and attack for 2. If my opponent wants to use just the dart to double spell, it's going to be kind of risky for them. Wow, and then they top deck Expressive Iteration, which is pretty good. So I guess I'll say I'm pretty likely to Flare of Malice. The Steel Cutter token if they make one, or if they make any creature, I guess. This way I can have the fourth land and a sacrifice effect to start airshipping, and the airship should, in theory, be able to outpace the Steel Cutter, but we'll see. Very good top decks from our opponent. You know, they kept a one lander, and now they've got two land Steel Cutter iteration through double Thoughtseize. They do find a mountain, so they have his Lava Dart mystery card. They go ahead and Lava Dart the Shambling Gas. So my ability to sack that to Flare is now gone. Still gonna make the treasure token. We could Flare sacking the Bowmaster later if we want. I think I'm gonna be fatal pushing the Monk token though. Just give my opponent the ability to flashback dart into mutagenic growth, although they never would with the Steel Cutter in play, for whatever that's worth. I draw Thoughtseize. Not a very good top deck. There's a good chance we go the rest of this game without casting this Thoughtseize. I'm just gonna play the airship, of course. And I think leaving the airships back to block is also going to be a good move. So they play a Swift Spear. They have Lava Dart in the yard. They go ahead and flashback the Lava Dart. Do I Flare of Malice? So if I Flare of Malice here, I'm stopping my ability to draw another Bowmaster, a Shambling Ghast. I wouldn't sack a Graveyard Trespasser. But if I drew those, I would be able to trigger the airships. Now I'm not. I think it's going to be good to Flare here. It might be kind of tricky to block two creatures this turn, but blocking one creature is a lot more reasonable. The last card is just a Steam Vents, so they're not going to be making any attacks this turn. Big top deck battle. Graveyard Trespasser is an interesting top deck. We're going to go ahead and play it. Exile a creature, drain for 1. I'm now at 12, you're now at 13, and then... I guess should I just be attacking for 8? If I attack for 8, I put my opponent down to 5. I'm at 12 life. Is the only way we could possibly lose the game is with Expressive Iteration. So if my opponent goes Expressive Iteration into Lava Dart, that would be I'd be down to 10 from the Lava Darts, and then this Monk token would have had Prowess triggered 3 times. It would be 4 power. The other one would be 4 power also because of the Steel Cutter token, right? No, it would be 3 power because of the iteration, then dart, then it exists, and it's 2 power, then 3. So I would go to 2, and then if my math is wait, am I 2? No, I go to 3, right? And so even if the other card was like Mishra's Bauble, I would live. So if they did go, I think we do lose if they go iteration into exactly Lava Dart Mutagenic Growth, and that doesn't seem super realistic to play around when the alternative is they're just dead next turn and they don't get any other top decks. So I feel like that's what we want to go for here. I'm not really seeing another avenue. I guess maybe iteration into like the Double Strike card. Okay, Slick Shot Show Off is kind of an interesting top deck because now this lets them chump block. So if I crew here, is it better to attack with the Graveyard Trespasser? My opponent still has to chump block here. They still have to chump block here. And then they go to 1 life either way, but I'm just at 13 if I attack with the Trespasser instead. So it seems like what we should do is attack with the Trespasser. We also remove Delirium, which is probably not going to be relevant. I think we still. Putting the one also removes the iteration into Lava Dart mutagenic growth line, which again seems to be the main thing we lose to. So they must block here, and then I think they will not block the Trespasser. Glad we didn't end up getting the Overgrown Tomb for Culling Ritual. The life totals would have been kind of scary, and they're dead. The just the flyers killed them. Graveyard Glutton kills them, and we are 3-0. Loving this deck. I'm 7-1 with tournaments now with this deck, and then 5-0 in leagues. So, been kind of a breakthrough. See you in round 4. Okay, we're on the draw for round 4. I'm going to go ahead and keep this hand a little bit speculative, but I do like that most of our top decks are really good. Marionette Apprentice is going to let us combo. We have the tower, so a airship is a Phoenix Fleet. Airship is going to be a pretty good top deck. Overlord can dig for one of these things and maybe get powered out via Phyrexian Tower. So I think it's a fine hand to keep. Looks like we're up against Jeskai again. We did beat them pretty handily last time. I'm going to go ahead and take the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which seems to yet again be here mostly to try to smooth out an otherwise kind of awkward hand, I guess. They're going to play the Island as their second land of choice, and then we draw another copy of Thoughtseize. I suppose it's okay to cast a Thoughtseize. They could have drawn another Fable or a Teferi. You were consigned to memory. So I think we need to take the consign so they can't do the on turn 4 cast Flage and then consign the Flage trigger. Now we're not going to be casting the Soultrader unless they play the Flage. And then they top deck the Fable, which is what I would call a big disaster. I've also drawn another land, which is Problemo. Drawing 2 out of 3 lands on our draw steps, not so good here. Discard the Flage and the Wrath, so their hand is Plains, 2 mystery cards. Possible they get pretty flooded. Possible we draw a Marionette Apprentice and win the game. But not feeling great about our spot. It's a little bit interesting, actually, that they discarded the Wrath Disguise over the second Plains. Like with the treasure token, I don't really think that makes a lot of sense. Now we could consider running out the Soultrader. I think that doesn't make a ton of sense necessarily. Maybe it's okay. Yeah, it's probably fine. My opponent's not very likely to be able to escape the Flage next turn, and if my opponent has a removal spell for the Soultrader, I'm not gonna be able to combo anyway, so I think it's gonna be okay. I also potentially have the option to like sack the Soultrader to a tower if they have Solitude, so I can still have access to it. All right, so they got Ophelia, and then they flip the Fable, 3 cards in their hand. One of them's a basic Plains. Oh no, I think they've played both the Plains now. So I guess we're going to sack the Soultrader here to deny the life gain. Now, possible we just get very punished for having played out the Soultrader because they had sorcery speed removal like Flage. So this Bowmaster is going to get to trigger an additional 2 times. In really bad shape. I'm not really sure that we have much chance here. But I do think I need to kill the Felia. Now, when they attack with the Goblin Shaman, this is going to give them enough white source to haste the Flage next turn, and they have 2 Flages, so even if I top deck Cling to Dust, I'm not going to be able to break that up. Then top deck a Gravecrawler. Yeah, I think I'm just dead to the hasty flage with no outs. Let's go ahead and go to game 2. Maybe if I drew Overlord that turn, it would have been enough. But we're gonna stick to the same sideboard plan of boarding out the Warren Soul Traders and the Grave Crawlers, and boarding in the Fatal Pushes, the Vexing Bubbles, and the Trespassers, and choosing to be on the play. We did lose game 1 of this matchup. I think that was round 2, and then won the match. So hopefully we can do that again. All right, on the play for game 2. Definitely a much better hand than our game 1 hand. I think our game 1 hand was fine. Got kind of flooded. Get to lead on another copy of Thoughtseize. Also, them top decking the second Fable was really tough there. All right, I think I'm gonna try to play around the Strict Serenade, like resolve the Bowmaster in response to them cracking a fetch for a Surveil land on turn 1, and then the Bowmaster in play does make the Fable noticeably worse. I guess we won't mind too much if they Serenade the Bowmaster now that we have second copy. They're gonna get a Surveillance, so I think I'm still gonna run the Bowmaster out here. And they go ahead and Graveyard a Solitude after a little bit of thought. Kind of a little bit surprised they would Graveyard Solitude in the spot. I guess it's fine. I don't want to overcommit into this Wrathless guys either. It does feel like the Wrath is something we can play around. One way we could play around Wrath maybe is to have 2 Marionette Apprentices in play. It's kind of an interesting angle. I think it's an interesting enough angle that I can go ahead and afford to deploy one, and if they Serenade it, that's okay too. They're thinking about it. What card could they be thinking about so much here with the Thundering Falls? Definitely a spell, or I guess not definitely a spell. They might have thought of the 4th land. Good, but you know what? I probably just not enough info to guess what that thought was there. Right, there's the Arid Mesa, and then they are not playing the Fable. It's interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and Surveil here instead of using the Cling to Dust. I might need to Cling to Dust a Flage if they Surveil into the yard. Another Bowmaster is kind of interesting too. So let's say we attack them for 4, down to 11, and then my opponent, they Wrath the Skies X equals 2 this turn, and then they kill everything, and then they take 3 more down to 8. Let's say down to 7 after the Arid Mesa. Then I play Bowmaster, I ping them down to 6. Then I cast another Bowmaster, I ping them down to 5, and I attack for 3, putting them down to 2. And then I and I could also have another Apprentice in my hand, so I feel like all this sounds pretty good. I will try to see if we just hit our land. No, sorry. I need to, if they Surveil Flage into the yard, I need to be able to Cling to Dust. All right, so we got them down to 11 life points, and then 10 after the fetch. Can't win every game with Phoenix Fleet Airship, much to my chagrin. They keep another card on top. Okay, so I still have all 3 of these over here. They play an Arena of Glory. I would hate to see Flage consign Arena be 3 of the unknown cards here. They go for a prismatic ending on the Marionette Apprentice. All right, well, let's see what we draw off a Cling to Dust. Then we can do some math. So I Fatal Push them down to 9, then I'm attacking for 2, 3, 4, 5, which would theoretically put them down to 4. They would then Strict Serenade the Apprentice and then Wrath the Skies. But if I draw another land, my other Bowmaster is pretty deadly, so... And then obviously they might just Serenade this, right? They almost snap Serenaded it, and then they decided not to. That's interesting. Three, four, five. So this puts them down to 4. Yeah, we don't know that they have the 5th land yet, so I think I just want to be able to try to put them to 1 with Bowmaster. I don't want to play Marionette Apprentice into the Serenade because then it just gets cleaned up by the Wrath. Like even if they go Wrath X equals 2 next turn and they hold up the Serenade, then I'm still attacking them for 2 with the Serenade down to 2. I can like overload back a Bowmaster. Imagine if this had flash too. So if they don't have a 5th land, we should be able to win by drawing our 4th land for Overlord for Bowmaster, unless they have Solitude and White card as 2 of their 3 unknown cards. We do know that they have 5 spells in their hand. 2 of them are Strict Serenade and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We do draw land number 4. So if I go Bowmaster, or if I go Overlord for Bowmaster, ping them, they go down to 2, then they Solitude this, then they go down to 1. Is it possibly better to because if they don't have Solitude, we could also go Marionette Apprentice plus Fatal Push. That doesn't seem like it could really ever be better. I know I'm overthinking it a little bit, but it's good to overthink. You just try to make sure you don't die or lose to the 0 mana spells, and then we can go grab Bowmaster to our hand, which is Cottage back another Bowmaster. So if my opponent does have Solitude, they're still going to be at 1 life, and I'm going to have Bowmaster. Now the problemo here, of course, is Flage, but I don't think that they have a Flage in their hand at the time of making this comment. And again, if it's possible if they do have a Flage that it would be their only white card for Solitude, since their 3 mystery cards would have to be Solitude, white card, Flage for me to really even possibly be in bad shape here. So they had Solitude, and then the white card was Wrath the Skies. Now, again, my opponent's going to be going down to 1. We have a Bowmaster on top of our attack. We have 2 lethal Bowmasters to attack. We have the Apprentice, which is pretty good when your opponent's at 1. Again, like just good to put yourself in the best position when they could have Solitude. Their hand is Fable, Serenade, Mystery card. If the 2 mystery cards, there's 2 mystery cards. If the 2 mystery cards are Flage, Consign, that'll be very annoying. The way they're tapping their mana kind of seems like it is. Okay, they do have the Flage. So I'm drawing a Bowmaster this next turn. I'm attacking them down to 3 this turn. What's my move? We could be worried about them playing around Fatal Push by playing the Apprentice. It's kind of realistic. I guess I could just Cling to Dust the Flage here. Yeah, let's do that. Just it is really annoying if they play around the fatal push by hitting me with the flage first, which they like absolutely should too. We're gonna do this on our upkeep in case my opponent's one unknown card is like a spell pierce. Then we would put our opponents in a spot where they'd have to top deck a land to escape the flage. But with the one blue mana open, they could have spell pierced here. Not that they're super likely to play spell pierce, but I've seen some Jeskai play it. Not very common though. All right, so they have Serenade, they have Fable, they have 2 mystery cards. Those mystery cards seem to be better. I might want to Fatal Push Felia and play Bowmaster this turn, so I don't think I want to just play Apprentice first. Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe Apprentice first was still better. The thing is, you have the Serenade, right? So it has Fable, Serenade, 2 mystery cards. Yeah, I think I like going for the Bowmaster again here, since of course like them serenading end of turn, I have a 2/2 lethal flyer, which is good, and then I have this Overlord to go Overlord back Bowmaster, so I could ping them with this Bowmaster, ping them with the Bowmaster here. So even if they just can kill everything, it's gonna be tough for them to even beat that. So they play the Fable finally. Feeling good about our spot. They're dead if they serenade the Bowmaster. They are dead if they have nothing else. We beat Solitude. Yeah, it's good spot. Okay, game 3. We're on the draw for game 3. I hate mulliganing Thoughtseize, double Overlord, Vexing Bauble, but one land that's a Phyrexian Tower is going to be a mulligan. This hand's great. Does seem like keeping the Flare of Malice so we can deal with like a fast Riddler is pretty important, but just being able to go Bowmaster Flare up, untap Phoenix Fleet Airship turn 3, pretty good. Yeah, well, I think we'll be surveilling here instead of cycling the Cling to Dust. Maybe try to save the Cling for a Flage, but not that big a deal either way. They do keep a card on top after a little bit of debate there. So if they play Felia, maybe I should Bowmaster in response to the Felia to play around Strict Serenade plus Riddler. Could definitely see that being good. I could also see this Delta being good, so I just have a way to trigger the Airship the turn after I play it. But I'm really upset if there's another land underneath the Delta, and then also most creatures can trigger the Airship anyways, so seems fine to graveyard it. But yeah, I think I will play around Serenade if they have the Felia. Although I did kind of run into the risk of them just bouncing my token. That would have been kind of bad. Thankfully, they just don't have the Serenade. Or if they have Serenade, maybe they're saving it for like the Airship. Definitely content with their first play being a turn 3 Fable. Don't really know how we got back to this point in Modern where people are just like, turn 3 Fable. That is my first play of the game. I feel like the format was so fast a few months ago. Notably, if I want to, for some reason, double flare this next turn, I could crew the Airship and then use the flare. If they evoke a Solitude on the Bowmaster end of turn, don't know if I would flare the Shaman. I might. So flaring this is really enticing. because it's going to make it harder for my opponent to use this discharge to fuel a Wrath of the Skies. Now, maybe I'm getting punished for not keeping the Delta, because right now I don't have anything to trigger the airships or crew them. We do have the Cling to Dust to cycle if we brick them. And then, any creature, any fetch land lets me. So they got 5 cards in their hand. They loot away a Serenade and a Solitude. Funny enough, I've played this matchup a good bit, and what's fun about Serenade in these spots when you have Tower and just any creature lets you, it lets you sack it to Tower and get more airships. Serenade, if they counter your creature, also just gives you a creature to sack. And I've been in a few spots where they just counter the thing, and it doesn't matter at all because I was just going to sack the thing anyways. So 3 cards in their hand. They've got a Riddler, which I no longer can flare. Do they have the Ephemerate? They've got 4 cards in their hand. They have the Ephemerate, so they're back up to 4 cards. Riddler in play, a big top deck for us, and I guess that's an okay draw. It's not great, but let's go ahead and cycle Cling to Dust, draw a card. Like, I don't really want to just go like Sephiroth, sack Sephiroth the Flare of Malice, but I will if that's all I can do. I guess actually let's make a different play. Let's go. This is kind of weird. So let's go Sephiroth. Let's crew the original airship. And then while this airship is in play, let's crew the token. And then what I'm thinking is I'm going to sack the token. Yeah, so I'm going to go sack the token, draw a card. Then in my instep, I get a copy of the airship. I'm going to hold priority here. And then I'm going to Flare of Malice, sacking the original. So I think keeping Sephiroth in play is pretty valuable. Or trying to, at least. And I still have my token airship, although now I'm weak to the Teferi. I'm not sure. I think this was okay. It was definitely, it might have been fancy play syndrome. Getting the Riddler off the field with the Ephemerate coming down seemed really good. Sephiroth in play to keep triggering stuff seemed good. Very weak to Teferi, this line. They've got a Flage, which I can Cling to Dust the Flage. They also are missing a card and a red or white source at the moment, although there's the white source, which they play untapped. And they started paying cost and then they passed. So very worried about Ophelia here. Start off with a Vexing Bauble. The Vexing Bauble sack can trigger the airship. And meanwhile, I can't Cling to Dust the Flage unless I draw I guess Cling to Dust or Trespasser or the 1-drop zombie. But I think it's important to keep the airships coming, so let's do this. Although maybe main phase is bad because of counter magic, although it's not very likely they'd have counter magic. You can't Serenade this. Can't consign. So they maybe can Felia. Maybe Felia can get rid of an airship every turn. And I'm getting an airship every turn. Okay, so they do have the Felia. I think I like the Sephiroth play. It was weird though. So they've got 3 cards in their hand. Notably, they can't copy the Felia with Reflection. Pretty cold if they have another Quantum Riddler. Thankfully, we got rid of the one that they already had, I guess. They're going to combat. Going to get rid of a Phoenix Fleet airship. Attacking with both. Putting me down to 21. They play a Flooded Strand. Cracks the Flooded Strand. Surveils. Graveyards of Wrath Disguise after thinking about it for a second. They might have another one in their hand, although not the most likely. Okay, so now I can go crack this Witch's Cottage Bowmaster. They might not realize I can play this at instant speed either, because I can go Cling to Dust, cast Bowmaster here. I don't know if I need to do. I think I'll just kind of just not cast the Cling yet. It's face up, but it's not the most common play. Okay, well now I have to. So this cage stops my Cling to Dust. It doesn't stop really anything else because I boarded out the Grave Crawlers. But stopping Cling is good. Also stops their Flages, actually. It's kind of bad, right? Not sure that they should have that in their deck. The last card could pretty easily be Strict Serenade. If it is good beats, I guess. It's like a devastation. All right, so we're going to get 5 triggers on this Bowmaster. I'm going to kill the Felia more than the Riddler here. Glad we cottaged this. Then this one just goes at their face. So they're at 11. They're going to attack me for 4 down to 16. They have 5 cards in their hand. But I've got a 6 power in play plus the Phoenix Fleet airships. I cannot Cling to Dust anymore because of the Grafdigger's Cage. They can't escape Flage anymore. Not that they have a Flage at all. Very weird game. This has been warped, so this is going to exile unless they have an Ephemerate. Can't remember if they played a land this turn. Love to draw Overlord. Still 4 of those in the deck. Be okay, Prismatic Ending the token. Then play Scalding Tarn, 3 cards in hand. Alright. Interesting. It's a very good top deck because of the ability to crew both of these. So let's make a servo, and then let's go ahead and attack for 9. My opponent is at 11, and then having the Apprentice in play also, of course, gives me a lot of resilience to Wrath. They're going to go down to 2 when I Phyrexian Tower the servo token. So they're down to 2, and then we get 2 more airships. They could have Wrath Disguise in their hand as that could have been the one card that was like sitting in their hand when they went for the Riddler play last turn. Can't do any crewing, just gonna F6. Maybe not F6ing is valuable. But here they Flage, and they could have Consign to save the Flage potentially, but it kind of seems like they're, I don't know if they realize the cage stops them from escaping. Like, will they crack the Scalding Tarn here? Well, no, they just play 2 Flages here. Very, very weird game. I wonder if this game will be lost because they like pending their own cage and I can't Cling to Dust both Flages. I don't know. I guess there wouldn't be a window too if it was just 1 Flage anyways. I'm gonna play Vexing Bauble. going to sacrifice a Vexing Bauble, so we'll become the Phoenix King, get 8 airships that are online. Kind of interesting. We could play this Phoenix Fleet airship, and the purpose of that would be being able to still have all. No, we don't need to play it this turn, because if they kill one airship, we can just cast this one next turn, and they'll still all be creatures. But we want to hold this in case they do have the Wrath of the Skies. And then if they do have the Wrath of the Skies, we can cling to Dust end of turn. Awesome match. Would love to be 4-0. I would love to be 4-0. My opponent puts a Fable into their graveyard here off the Surveil. Looks like they're out of Surveil lands. Well, they fetched a Thin. There's 1 Wrath in the graveyard. 2 mystery cards. I think they have a Riddler and Warp. Yeah. They shock Steam Vincent. Okay, then they cast a Quantum Riddler. So no Wrath the Skies this turn. 3 cards in their hand. I guess their life total doesn't matter too much. They either I get to attack with my airships or I don't. They have a Galvanic Discharge, which I guess they can Wrath for 4 now. Dang. Okay, but then they just ephemerate the Riddler. So now, this is so swingy. Now Wrath the Skies is not available as an out because they've played their land for turn and they can only Wrath for 3. I guess casting the Discharge to empty their hand makes sense. Now, if they pass the turn without killing an airship, I can just use my airships to crew my other airships. So it's not like killing one is going to do anything. Usually if I was streaming, I wouldn't say that out loud, just in case they're listening. But they do know. They Solitude Pitch to Fairy. Now, this airship still is good enough to get them. However, if... yeah, we'll go ahead and gain the life instead of sacking the tower, of course. If they have a Strict Serenade as their last card, they stop me from getting the airships online. So let's see what we draw. Another airship, which is a very fun draw. Okay, and they do have a Strict Serenade, but look at this. Now we get to go sack the bird token to the Phyrexian Tower, play our 8th land or 7th land, whatever. Then I just have another airship, and I get to attack for lethal. And I would also get to make a bunch of tokens in my end step, but let's maybe not let them draw Wrath the Skies. So we are 4-0. 4-0 with Soultrader. The deck has been great. Continues, like this plan just continues to be beating up on Jeskai, which is good. It's definitely weak to fast combo, but none of that so far today. Opponents contemplating their fate. How did you have 2 airships as your last 2 cards? But it's just still so funny to me. Like, airship is like all you need to beat Flage, Riddler, Ephemerate, Wrath the Skies. It's just like all of these crazy problems just stopped by random standard card. All right, see you in round 5. Okay, we're on the play for round 5. This hand is so good, but we don't have a land. If either of these cards were a swamp, this hand would be pretty nutty. I guess this card too, but we mulligan to 6. I don't think we've actually Soultrader comboed all day today from now that I'm thinking about it. It's kind of the opposite though of how we were playing the deck. Like we were just winning Soultrader combo every round. Kind of funny how that goes. Living End, huh? Living End, so I got Vexing Baubles, Ashek's not great. Living it at 4-0, huh? Well, you want to take Ardent Plea first in these situations, since you want to wait as long as you can to put the creatures in the graveyard. Although we're going to Thoughtseize both, so I guess it doesn't matter all that much. They do keep a card on top. Are they ever keeping not a Cascader on top? I don't know. Yeah, seems like they might have, so seems like the third Thoughtseize. It'll be good because it'll hit the endurance, even if my hunch is wrong there. Yep, hunch was correct. Yeah, just no other card they would keep basically. Let's go and cycle the Cling, try to find land number 3. Do find land number 3. It's a Phyrexian Tower, which is good in this matchup, right? Because you can put stuff in the graveyard. Oh, I didn't mean to clear all. They played the Misty Rainforest. They also have Endurance, Forest, Subtlety, and then now Mystery card. We'll play a Shambling Ghast this turn. Might be good to run out the Bowmaster. Let's see if they use the Endurance. They do play the Endurance. Let's just go ahead and let that resolve instead of trying to we could Cling to Dust to cycle. I don't think we're that desperate. But we're going to go ahead and play the Bowmaster here before they can Subtlety it. Also, having Bowmaster in play is good against the deck of Cyclers here. Kind of surprised they ran out the Endurance like this. Yeah, seems like a fine time to block. We kind of like having cards in the graveyard anyways. The Subtlety, we can Flare. Okay. Now, do I want to sack the I guess that's better to sack the I guess it's better to sack the Orc army because of Overlord. Yeah. Thankfully, Flare doesn't let them sack the Endurance. They have to sack the Subtlety. So no known cards in their hand. Did not a great job managing the known cards there, though. I've not seen Living in a while. It's cool that it's doing well. It does seem like it's good against Titan. It's good against Boros, which is coming back. Seems like it's probably not great against Jeskai. They have a lot of tools that are really good against it, actually, but not all that bad. All right, taking 3 down to 10. They have a pretty good Living End if they found one off the Street Wraith, but it seems like they didn't, thankfully. I'm gonna hold the Cling, although they found another blocker. Geez. Was trying to if they had Subtlety attack first is better with the Apprentice. Let's make a servo. I think we'll go to 7 here. I think we could play around the top deck Cascader by not sacking the servo, save it to sack the Apprentice. It's probably fine. And also, we would get to Cling to Dust the end. They just have 5 more in the deck. They could also cycle into it here. Yeah, they do have it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna Cling to Dust the end. We're gonna go to 10. They're down to 11. Only 1 card in our graveyard. Airship would be a good draw. I don't have a zombie in play, I guess, to just cast the Gravecrawler again. The Street Wraith I also having Swamp Walk, I didn't realize was so bad for us here. So if they attack me for 6 down to 4, I don't think Soul Trader is a win. I guess we'll just see what we draw, right? Airship buys me a turn. Flare of Malice buys me a turn. I wonder how good Sephiroth is. I don't know if it's a whole turn good. Draw, step, pause. All right, let's go to game 2. Not having Stitcher Supply in your deck is tough. I'm gonna play the Vexing Baubles. Ashok is good. Like being able to fill your own graveyard and exile your opponents is it's nice. Cling is not great. It's like you saw there, kind of whatever. I feel like we can trim a Cling. It's okay. I don't know. So the airships. I think the airships can be good in some games where like it would have been a good top deck that game to stabilize. I like that you can play it and it like while they're not creatures, they don't die to living end. No. I don't think I'd like Trespasser very much against them. Just like doesn't exile enough from the yard. I think 3 Ashocks is going to be a good number. But what can we cut? The Flare of Malices, I think are nice. Like they sack a thing, put it back in the graveyard. Overlords put stuff in the yard, you got to keep it. We could maybe put back the Shambling Ghasts. What if we did something like I got the flares are kind of about the Vexing Baubles. I feel like creature removal. This is maybe just not the plan we want to be playing. Yeah, let's do this. I think I like the look of this. Yeah, I think 3 Ashok's good number. Mostly in the sideboard for Neoform and Titan, two pretty tough matchups. So this hand doesn't have an Ashok, doesn't have a Vexing Bauble. It's missing just a Soul Trader to combo. Phyrexian Tower would be a really good draw. Bauble would be a good draw. Bowmaster is good. I actually think that this hand is keepable, although it's pretty close, pretty borderline. So has a ton of really good top decks. I could also, like, if I just draw a land, I can Bowmaster my Shambling Ghast and then Airship on turn 3. All right, I'm going to go ahead and Bowmaster my Shambling Ghast. Since I do think if they're going to turn 3 Living End, if I turn 3 Airship, that'll be possibly our answer. And then we just want to have Bowmaster in play, so if they're like cycling Street Race that they top deck and stuff, like cycles a draw card, the Bowmaster can get some damage in. All right, they grab a Breeding Pool. All right, do find the land for the Airship. They shouldn't be able to flash in any blockers. Let's go ahead and get in. Who would win, a Living End or a single Phoenix Fleet Airship? We'll find out. Might get Besaged here, which would stink. So, a Waker of Waves, maybe looking for like a Force of Vigor or a Force of Negation. They find a Force of Negation and they pitch a Flare of Denial. This is kind of a disaster. Also hitting all this action might just be a fast round 5. We'll see. And also we do have Sephiroth and Gravecrawler. Like we could also just try to dig for a Soul Trader and combo win. No subtlety, thankfully. Okay, so my opponent has 12 plus 5, 17 damage in there. It's a lot. I'm just trying to think, can I surveil this turn versus not? I actually think that it just seems mostly better to play the apprentice, make a servo, gain 7 life by chumping the Waker of Waves. Um and then I can still next turn I can still surveil and then draw a card off Sephiroth potentially to dig for the Soul Trader. They graveyard a second Living End. Well, I don't know that we were beating Force of Negation, Living End, Clarion Conqueror under any realistic circumstance. We'll see. I don't know. We do have Sephiroth in play. It doesn't seem that bad here, but maybe they like block some for some reason. Draw Bowmaster. It's just kind of interesting. I think I'm gonna not surveil at this point. Although maybe I could cottage Bowmaster. So if I cottage Bowmaster, then I can go attack with Sephiroth, draw a card. I can go at that point. I guess I could also go Bowmaster, ping Gravecrawler, attack with Sephiroth, sack the token, draw a card. That's 2 Sephiroth triggers. New Bowmaster, Bowmaster, draw another card. I guess one thing is they're just gonna so like I need to flip the I need to flip this because otherwise they get to just block. I don't think I can get to 4 though. I guess I can go. Gotta go Bowmaster target itself. Not a play that comes up that often. So okay, so I can go Bowmaster target itself. That does work. 1 Sephiroth trigger. Yeah, it just seems like I can only ever get 3 triggers. I need 4. So I guess we should probably pivot from that plan a little bit. And maybe I think I still want to play 2 Bowmasters this turn. Let's go Sephiroth. Sack here. 2 damage. So they do block. So let's go 1 Bowmaster, ping the Clarion Conqueror. And then I need to think about killing a Bowmaster with a Bowmaster because this will put them down to 6 life points. They're also the Clarion Conqueror dying is gonna make them lose another life. So this would in theory put them down to 5 after they take 3. If I Bowmaster my own Bowmaster, then I'm gonna be at 12 life, and if I block here, I'm taking not 12. Let's see, is that how? If I could also just Bowmaster them, and then they take a ping from the Bowmaster, which I guess is this. So it's like, yeah, I think it's probably just best to Bowmaster them. And let's do it now because if they have subtlety, then that triggers the Sephiroth. Because I think us just chumping with the Bowmaster is the same. All right, so now they're at 5. This would be a pretty crazy game to win. Oh, we also got the Clarion Conqueror off the field somehow, which is pretty wild. They do send with everything pretty quick. So we block with everything. We go They go to 2. Guess I'm not seeing too many top decks besides Soul Trader that win us the game at that point. Leaving another creature in play, at least for like Overlord for Sephiroth, makes some sense too. They also have this food token, which I guess is tough. I think I'm gonna block like this. Just take 5 down to 6 instead of going down to 1. Then they bounce my Apprentice back to my hand. It looks like top deck Soul Trader still. I think top deck Soul Trader still wins, assuming they don't have something else. Oh, maybe that's not true because of the food token. Yeah, I think food token putting them to 8 puts them out of range for Soul Trader to kill them. We didn't draw anything. Well, that was a tough match. Let it not be said, I didn't try. 4-1. Probably have to win the next 4 rounds to top 8. Possible we could get in at 7-2. We'll see. See you next round. Okay, we're on the draw for round 6. We're 4-1. I'm going to mulligan this hand. Not super cohesive plan. No 1-drops. This hand's way better. I'm clicking the keep button. I guess I'm going to put back the Gravecrawler. Missing the other 2 pieces of the combo. We want a Thoughtseize on turn 1 anyways. We're on the draw against a Sacred Foundry. And a Ragavan. Fortunately, we're on the draw. On the play, being able to Bowmaster this before it hits us would be really good. Still get to Thoughtseize them, and then hopefully Bowmaster this next turn. And Jeskai again. We're 2-0 against Jeskai at the moment. Yeah, seems like we get to take the Riddler and then Bowmaster the Ragavan. Have to take the Riddler here because they have the Ephemerate. Even if they don't have the extra land, they get 2 looks at the untapped white source, or I guess they could draw like an island for turn to go Riddler Ephemerate, which we cannot allow this early. Dang, this game would have been way easier on the play. Just like we see this hand. I don't even really. I guess he would probably still take the Riddler, but classic. Hopefully they don't flip a Thoughtseize or a Bowmaster. I guess Bowmaster wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Can't be too upset to run into Jeskai. We've been winning this matchup a good bit. Opponent might be having some connection problems with the 1-minute Ragavan attack here. Exiles the Overgrown Tomb. Plays the Thundering Falls. And keeps the card on the top. I'm going to main phase the Bowmaster in case they have Strict Serenade. We'll make them use the treasure token. Seems like a good enough reason. Maybe a little bit worse against Ophelia. They do have the Felia, unfortunately, but they don't necessarily have the 3rd mana for... Oh, interesting. Well, this works out way worse for the 2 unknown cards to be Felia and Quantum Riddler, I guess. Okay, so if I block here, I know if they just drew Solitude, it's really bad if I don't block, but let's not play around that. Oh no! Oh no! I did this before. My brain was even like told me this is just such an embarrassing mistake. But of course, we needed to block. I've done that. This is the 2nd time I've made this mistake. It's really bad that it happened twice. But of course, this has an extra counter when, and so the Bowmaster can't ping it. I'm really embarrassed this happened twice. We're just gonna try to move forward here. Gonna grab a Warren Soul Trader, I think, over an Apprentice. Maybe we give Apprentice first. It's a bit easier to like double spell next turn with it. Maybe get some incidental chip damage in, but I think this might have just been a game losing misplay. I don't. Hopefully I won't make this mistake the 3rd time. So I also should have just pinged them. So it has Ephemerate, Fable. I imagine they attack and they get rid of my Orc army here. Don't think I can afford the chump block. Might just be too dead though to the Quantum Riddler. Obviously, also my opponent's two unknown cards being new Felia and then the Riddler. Even if they just drew them in the other order, it would have been so much easier. It's okay. Not going to complain too much, but do you think after a day of pretty tight play, uh, it's it's like 5 hours later, and we just make a pretty silly mistake. Could cost us the whole tournament here. Now I'm thinking they found a Flage, and they're just gonna target me with Flage with the Riddler in the air. No, they just play a Fable. Okay, so I guess not the worst thing to be wrong about. So I could, yeah, I guess sacking to play the Overlord is not what you might call a winning line here. So we return the Soultrader. We could maybe cling to dust next turn to stay alive. I will say at the very least, despite being able to have played this game better, it's at least a little bit nice that every time we've played this matchup so far, we've lost game one and then we've won both sideboard games, so we can feel at least a little bit confident going into games 2 and 3. So delete my servo token. I'm gonna chump here. Do I go to 1? I think we're clearly in really bad shape with really just Flare of Malice as a top deck. I think I'm gonna try to maximize my potential here. Go to 1. I don't really even see it, like I mean, even with draw Flare of Malice, we're still in awful shape. It's probably just even an okay time to concede. Might as well take the draw step. Shambling Ghast. All right, to game 2. Would have loved to see how the game would have gone. -1 Fele. It still would have been a tough one for sure, but yeah, let's run this. Just same sideboard plan. It's been working. Good to know the matchup too. I've had a good bit of practice so far with it so today. I wonder how much equity like we gain with people. Probably not much, but like one of these rounds against Jeskai, one of our opponents boarded in a Grafdigger's Cage to break up the combo, but ended up like stopping their own flages. I wonder how often we're getting equity like that in these matchups where they're boarding like Clarion Conquer against the combo, stuff like that, and we're just boarding out the combo. Not sure. Okay, on to play game 2 against Jeskai. Totally reasonable hand. 1, 2, 3, 4 curve. Opponent thinking on their 7. Two Solitudes, a Wrath the Skies, and a March of Otherworldly Light. I guess I'm going to take the Wrath. Just try not to get that to clean up my airships, but my hand looks like it lines up pretty well against theirs. Notably, they also don't have any red mana. They do keep a card on the top. We do not find a creature we can return with the Overlord. We do graveyard another Overlord, though, so we maybe could use Witch's Cottage to put that back on top. Could just play the Vexing Bauble this turn. They might march it, then maybe we could sack it. It's a little weird, I guess. Um, I'll play the Graveyard Trespasser. If they drew a Flage, it's not great, but we could maybe Witch's Cottage back the Overlord and get back the Trespasser to get rid of the Flage. I think that's probably okay. Can't be all that bad, at least. We could also maybe set up for like attack with Trespasser next turn, then use the Phyrexian Tower to go Vexing Bauble into Airship, and then maybe we put them in a spot where they can march. I guess I would only have to pitch one card to march to get rid of my Airship. Don't love that. They do keep a card on top with a Surveil. Their hand is Fountain, Solitude, March, Solitude, 2 mystery cards. They did find the Flage, like we were worried about. But we have a plan. Right, they discard a Solitude. Now, you might think I could Legend Rule my Phyrexian Towers to trigger the Phoenix Fleet Airship Sacrifice trigger. That is not how this works, though. Oh, sorry. I meant to target the Overlord, Vexing Bauble, Impending Overlord, get back Trespasser. Now I have to rethink things a little bit. Because I don't really want to. I guess just playing the Airship is okay. It's not. It's obviously awkward that they have an answer for it, but it's if they do end up marching the Phoenix Fleet Airship, then that's going to be their entire turn, and they're going to be minus a card, and then I get to go Graveyard Trespasser the Flage. So that just should be okay. So let me start off with the Vexing Bauble. Probably an okay time to Legend Rule the Towers. Kind of bad if I top deck another Overlord. It is night, so I do get to get 2 things here. But I want to have the Phyrexian Tower for the graveyard gluttoned up. Go ahead and they march the Airship. They pitch the Solitude, so I don't know any cards in their hand. Again, it would have been better to Cottage the Overlord. That and sack the Vexing Bauble. But we're here now. Kind of easy to lose focus after long day of tournament play. They play a Fable. I'm gonna go ahead and sack the Vexing Bauble. What are Thoughtseize main phase because of our ability to exile something with the Trespasser. So they have a Solitude, but they couldn't Solitude the Trespasser because of the ward cost. Is it right to not attack? I guess they could just pending, so seems right to attack. Then my Overlord can block anyways, of course. So it has Prismatic Ending, Mystery Card. They also have the Fable to filter a little bit here if they don't want their whole turn to just be Prismatic Ending the Trespasser, discard a card, which isn't a great play because I could also just like sack the Trespasser to the tower, then recur it with the Overlord. So they discard Surgical Extraction, so the hand is Prismatic Ending Surgical. So will we see Prismatic Ending on the Trespasser? That's, I guess, what we're hoping for. That's what it looks like. Don't know if they realized they could attack and then Prismatic Ending the Overlord. Which is probably better, right? Oh, no. Wait, undo? Okay. Clear that I've lost a lot of focus after this long tournament day. But I yeah, need to let them make them discard the card first. But yeah, they could have attacked with the token, and then with the Urborg, they could have Prismatic Ending X equals 5. I think I'm just gonna graveyard this. We know we're gonna get an Overlord trigger, so I kind of don't mind just knowing I have something good else to get next turn, and we can't even double Trespass next turn anyways. It's definitely better than, it's maybe better than the average top deck, but not as good as this as a top deck either. Could have surveilled on our upkeep, potentially to play to draw an airship. The problem with that is, I guess I'm going to target my own Overlord since I can't get it back. The problem with that was if I drew another Overlord, I couldn't cast it. So I think it was better to surveil on their turn than it was to surveil on my upkeep. Maybe it was close. They're at 8 life. We're attacking for 8 next turn. We've got an airship in our hand. So I'm definitely feeling good about our spot. Matchup has seemed really good post board, of course. They are attacking, so maybe they drew a Solitude or a Quantum Riddler if they need that 5th mana. Maybe they drew Prismatic Ending and they now realize they can Ending X equals 5. No, it is a Riddler. Obviously blocks really well on this board. One of their other cards is now an Arena of Glory. I draw a Phyrexian Tower. Let's see. I think I'm attacking with both so that the double block isn't so good. And then I'm like, on this board, I kind of just need to sack the Trespasser to tower anyways if I don't find a Bowmaster. And I do find a Bowmaster. which changes things. Well, they block like this. Okay, I guess makes sense. So, do I actually care about killing the reflection more? I guess no. I'm a little bit scared of like Solitude being copied, but yeah, we'll just let this damage happen. Deal all 5 to the Riddler. Play Bowmaster. Finish the Riddler off. I know we would get like a Bowmaster trigger next turn, but I think it makes more sense to slow down their resources when I've got Airship coming. Gonna be kind of tough for them to get out of this. Also milled over a Cling to Dust. They're hasting something. Are their last 2 cards Lage Consign? They're hasting Felia. So this can get rid of one of my airships. And then they kill the other with Wear Tear. Do I have any recourse to this? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't, so we'll let it happen. And they can block the Bowmaster if I send with both here. Although if they do, then they go to 1 when I have Graveyard Trespasser in place. So we might be okay with that. Yeah, if they can't surveil, Flage in the Yard, and escape because the Arena of Glory is exerted here. So let me just go ahead and see if I draw Fatal Push. Ding, ding, ding. So we win game 2, despite me playing this match worse than I played any other match today. Doesn't mean I can't play game 3 good. I think my opponent also messed up by not prismatic ending the Overlord. It's definitely not a play like your brain really thinks of, because it's almost never never like does the Urborg and the treasure token let you do it. But I did mention Urborg's got some big downsides. Okay, going to game 3, gonna run it back. Just gonna keep the sideboard plan. I don't know if this is how good advice this is, but usually when I get this deep into a tournament, I try not to overthink my sideboard plans. I try to save the brain power for the actual gameplay, and just 6 hours in, I think you probably I don't have the brain power to spare to try to rethink the sideboard plans. Okay, we're on the draw for game 3 here. My opponent's lamenting the way they played. I guess I punted. How do y'all feel about this? My opponent mulled to 6. We're on the draw with double Thoughtseize against the mull to 6 in a really grindy matchup. I don't like to mulligan in this matchup. We have a Surveil. It's really bad. We haven't seen Ragavan. No, we saw Ragavan game 1. Are they gonna have it? Yeah, that was your fan. I'm gonna keep this. I think I'd be like pretty happy to keep 4 lands double Thoughtseize on a mull to 6. So I think it's fine. If my opponent goes to 5, I'll be really happy. Unless they have a Ragavan, then I might not be. They graveyard a consigned to memory after some thought, so I won't be surprised to see a Flage in the hand. Love drawing Cling to Dust. Alright, easy Riddler, I guess. Yeah, just double Thoughtseize is so good on the draw in these matchups when your opponent's mulligan. I think if my opponent kept 7, I would have mulliganed. Kind of an interesting dynamic. They drew something. What do they have that they're thinking about main phasing? Okay, obviously our two top decks have been great. I should thought these also, right? I'm thinking they drew Felia. They say, oh no, they drew another Riddler? Really? I wanted, oh, they drew Surgical. Still can. Still can, I say. So I was kind of wondering again, like how much equity do we get from stuff like people sideboarding for the combo, but like again, like my opponent's boarded in Surgical, a card that isn't good against my sideboard plan. I probably take Ephemerate over the Solitude. Like the main way we lose now is the top deck Riddler. Let's just not lose to that. Um, I think this is a good card to keep on top. It's good for the tower to keep fueling the airship. Seems fine. The opponent's hand is Solitude, Surgical Mystery card. I'll probably just hold up the Cling without the tower. I guess holding up with the tower is better against Flage, but without the tower is better if they don't have Flage. Pretty marginal. Obviously, love drawing 3 spells in a row after keeping the 5-lander. They top deck the Felia, which is a bit annoying, I guess. Hopefully they don't top deck a Riddler after the Felia again like they did game 1. So we're taking 2 down to 14. Solitude Surgical Mystery card over there. Doing a Surgical might Cling. That's okay. I'm gonna cycle here. Yeah, we'll just take the 2 for 1, you know. So it has Solitude Mystery card. So they do this so I'm not going to be able to start blocking the Felia. Makes sense. They do have no cards in their hand, and me having 2 airships is going to allow me to outpace Felia blinking my token every turn. They're top decking. They have a lot of good top decks, and they have a lot of bad top decks too. Pretty cool game. I think we played this one pretty good. I'm very happy we ended up keeping the 7. I think some people might have mulliganed. But it says Ugg fail, had to not use Solitude. They didn't have to use it right then. I think it was okay for them to use it. Opponents should be nicer to themselves. Now I'm kind of flooding a little bit here. I'm gonna have 4 airships, and we're in a spot where any creature and any fetch land and Vexing Bauble are all good top decks. They're gonna get me down to 3 airships. Remember, Legend Rule the tower doesn't trigger the airships. I'm down to 9 life also. When did that happen? Okay, this was on my list. So this triggers the airships. And we draw something. Really nice that if we end up sacking this to tower this turn, then the treasure token will still trigger the airships. And now we also have blocker for Felia. Not the shambling ghast, but yeah, the crewing of an airship here. Consign would be kind of an interesting card for them to have drawn this turn. Was it this turn though? Two cards in their hand. They didn't play a land last turn. They might have held a land for Fable. They might have played a land for Quantum Riddler, so kind of a wash, I guess. All right, so let's go ahead and crew an airship. Doesn't really matter which one we crew because we can just crew with the one we crew. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to go ahead and sack the gas to the tower. We're going to make a treasure token, which we can, again, use to trigger the airships next turn. So if they attack with the Felia, they're going to lose the Felia, probably. And they realize that, and they say, no thanks. Seems like, I guess we should be attacking here. Doesn't matter a ton. All right, we're the Phoenix King. Opponent is reading Phoenix Fleet Airship here. They stay as the creature. What the heck? The card's pretty busted. But it says I failed. So I could counter 4 of them, our opponent says. If I did, you wouldn't have this. Okay. How does my opponent kill 4 of them with 1 card in hand, though? I don't know. No idea. And my opponent's an anime villain. Ugh. If I did, you wouldn't have this. Ugh, this many. I failed. But yeah, I made mistake. Could win this. No, I'm not sure what the. I mean, the big mistake was bringing surgical, maybe. I'll just say GG's, I guess. Usually don't love the offensive GG's. I don't know how to say this. All right, I guess I'll update you if anything else interesting happens. I'm gonna pause the recording here. Back round 7 should be 5-1. Okay, we're on the draw for round 7. Gonna mulligan this hand. No real plan. Let's keep this on 6. Not loving this on the draw, but hard to love being on the draw in general these days. We're gonna let Marsh Flats go. Could be Jeskai. I've seen sometimes Jeskai plays Marsh Flats because all their fetchables are white and they throw you off. Could be Boros. Could be Esper Reanimator. Looking like it's in that direction. A little bit light on like Goryo's Hate. We have the main deck Clings. I was thinking about playing some Surgicals. Decided against it. We'll see how how much that comes back to bite us. This isn't even necessarily Goryo's. It could just be Blink. Let's surveil. So I'm going to flare on their upkeep. Plays a little bit better around Force of Negation. Yeah, the Goryo's. Okay, very odd to cast Riddler without the ability to ephemerate. Does this mean they have Fatal Push in their hand? I think they probably just mistapped, honestly. So I was gonna replay the Marionette Apprentice. I want to be able to Witch's Cottage, so I'm gonna play the Urborg here. But I think at this point I'd rather be able to Bowmaster off the Servo token. Another Bowmaster or Shambling Ghast. I can hardcast Overlord either way next turn. I don't need the Shambling Ghast for that. I think I'm gonna grab the. No, I'll just take a Bowmaster then. It's a bit obvious I'm gonna have one. Now the good news is my opponent did not Goryo's me last turn. Oh, I also just now noticed I have milled over Cling to Dust. That's great. So we need to dodge Goryo's for a turn, effectively 2 draw steps, or 2 draws, the Riddler draw and then their draw for turn. Just main phase this because they have some instant speed card draw like an Indulgence or Mending. You don't want them to be able to respond to that. Just main phase here, I think. They're in their beginning of combat step. Be a little annoyed if it takes them 2 minutes to Goryo's here and the Goryo's in the beginning of combat, I guess. All right, successfully gone to instep here. Do think we really want to prioritize Cling to Dust on the Atraxa. Don't think my opponent noticed the Cling. Unbelievable that they did it main phase. Do they have Force of Negation? Okay, they do have Force. So we need them to brick on Ephemerate. Don't see an Ephemerate here. Still, I was tapped out, wasn't I? No, I guess I had a mana. I guess we were just playing around another Cling. Okay, that's fine. So they can take Thoughtseize or Prismatic Ending, Gristlebrand Frog or Solitude, a Polluted Delta, and a Force of Negation. Now, and if there's just not an Ephemerate over there, we're in good shape. Obviously, they get to drain me for 7. It's not so good. Definitely not that it would happen very often at like this level event. They choose Thoughtseize, Delta, Solitude, Force. Again, not that it would happen very often at this level of event, but I have seen like a good amount of people just concede to Goryo's attack. So you have to make them have the Ephemerate. They don't, they just don't always have Ephemerate. So they go ahead and play the Delta. Let's go ahead and cross up both Deltas. They grab Solitude, Thoughtseize, Force. So only one Solitude. There's the Thoughtseize gone. No, not Prismatic Ending, not Frog, not Gristlebrand, not Marsh Flats. I went ahead and put a stop on my upkeep here. So on my upkeep, I could Witch's Cottage back Overlord if they take Overlord and hardcast it. Then they main phase Solitude Bowmaster. Do they have two Ephemerates? They pitched a Mending. That was one of the mystery cards. I guess they have a Mending or an Indulgence. No, they have a Riddler. Okay, Riddler draw one looking for Ephemerate. Their hand is Force of Negation, two mystery cards. Tense game. I'm at 13 now, and they're at 17. Did they find the Ephemerate? Maybe, hopefully it's Thoughtseize. Oh, no. It's probably the game. Mending Delta Solitude. So we need to find a Flare of Denial, which means not cottaging the Overlord here, I guess. Let's go to game 2. So with the Vexing Baubles. Now, Fatal Push against the Frog deck makes some sense, although it really only hits Frog, so maybe we want 1 or 2 instead of the full 3. Ashok not so good as like Graveyard Hate. I think Trespasser would be a little bit better. I think we maybe want like 1 or 2 Trespassers, not any more than that. Might already be overboarding a little bit. Do we feel like I haven't played this matchup, I think, once. I don't think that Airship is going to be good against the Goryo's plan. It is good against their more fair value plan. I think we keep in all the flares. I think it's like 2 push, 3 flare, 1 trespasser. Maybe it should be 2 trespasser. Maybe we go down to Gravecrawler. I still need to cut 1 more if I want to make room for this. I don't mind trimming a little bit in the combo. Maybe we could play like 3 trespasser. We could do like 3 each of the combo, play 3 trespassers. That could be okay. It's just you're not usually able to get Atraxa with this, but you can sometimes when they loot it away and then they try to find Gorios, or you like Thoughtseize Gorios, they loot it away. You kill Frog, they discard it, then you Trespasser. That happens pretty often. And then Trespasser is also just kind of a nice resilient threat against their like removal. So I think it's okay to board like this, just like trim on the combo pieces. Don't want to be drawing multiple pieces of them. This hand is double Gravecrawler, which kind of stinks. No Cling, no Thoughtseize, no Vexing Bauble. I'll mulligan. I don't really think I can work with this. I might be able to. I don't know if I can really work with a mold of 5 on the play. Yeah, let's make it work. We'll make it work. Got to stop on their instep here. Don't hate that. Save me, Phoenix Fleet Airship. So why would they be doing this end of turn? I guess they would do this maybe if they had Frog and they wanted to play around the flare. It's very, very odd timing. I don't really think it makes sense to flare. Pitching attracts is extra weird. There's not really a good reason for them to have done this at this speed. Like, you should at least draw your card, see if you want to pitch a different white card. But yeah, they played around flare really well. If their play is Frog here. Like, incredibly well. I don't know how I telegraphed it this much. I'm honestly shocked that they played around it this well. It was like amazing. I don't need like I don't know if I don't know if it was right. It was good. Like, what if I just had anything else? But I guess I didn't have anything else because I didn't play a 2-drop. Right, they got 5 cards in their hand. So it seems like I should be just casting an airship. We'll trade the trigger for the Teferi minus, I guess. It would be really nice to be able to like draw a creature, crew, kill Teferi, then use the flare to kill the frog. Keeps a card on top, 6 cards in hand. Passes the turn. Force of negation. Sink. Interesting. So let's see if we can get them to force the flare, I guess. Although it's not like we're in good shape if they do. Tough game. Maybe a tough matchup. Haven't played it yet. They do force it. So the hand is Solitude, Plains. Best draw is just kind of fatal push, isn't it? So they play Flooded Strand, which gives us pretty good info. Well, yeah, that is the card that like gives us a chance to win this game for sure. So now they've got Solitude Plains as their two of their three known cards. I'm hoping this flare doesn't get forced. It's not the end of the world if it does, but I'm interested in like maybe in drawing a fetch land and starting to airship without them being able to just minus on the token. I could draw an Overlord also maybe, although that just gets solituded. Imagine they surveil. They are playing the green source to eventually hardcast an Atraxa. They put a Hallowed Fountain in their graveyard. So the hand is Plain Solitude Mystery card. Plays the Plains. Has a Riddler, I guess. Well, I'll cast it. Currently nothing in the yard we can get back, and it's a pretty good Solitude target. All right, not a bad pickup. Tough mulligan. It's kind of frustrating too that our 7 card hand seems like it would have played in this game a lot better. It's very tough. Like, I mean, this is what's so good about Gorios is, you know, they have a very, very powerful combo that's hard to beat for most decks. And they're also a frog, Riddler, Ephemerate, Solitude, Teferi deck, you know. Very tough to fight them on all those axes, Xi. They missed their land drop, so they got 3 spells in their hand. Fetch land is the best draw we could have had. Who cares about all those problems, I guess, when you just have Airship in your deck? Got some interesting choices. We could try to double block the Riddler, but we get really blown out by an Ephemerate or a Solitude. I don't know. You have so many choices with Airship. Are they hardcasting a track? So they need another mana. They did make a green with the Hedge Maze. They're untapping. Seems like they've got an Atraxa, maybe? No, this is a prismatic ending for the Airship. Okay. It's not so bad. Not exactly so good either. Probably want to play around Ephemerate or Solitude by trading the token for the Solitude instead of crewing and blocking. Not like super convinced, but like they knew I have the Bowmaster in my hand, so like they should only make this attack if they're hoping I crew, right? That doesn't mean in practice that that's what they'll do. Looks like they have a prismatic ending. And maybe there's like a level they know I know that they know that they've got Bowmaster, you know. I'm gonna cast Thought Sneezes. Okay, they had the goods here. I guess we take Ephemerate, the 1 mana draw 4. Dead in 2 turns. I think this might be the end of our run. I was looking at the breakers, and we are not gonna top 8 unless we win at least this round of the next one, but probably all 3. Still, these 9 round events are just so tough, so much competition. I think instead of crewing with the chump block the Airship, I think I'll just go out with some dignity here, knowing I've got no top decks. Yeah, I think that's it for us. So we're in 23rd. We're gonna fall down to like 34th. We're just not gonna be able to climb back into the top 8 ranks in the next 2 rounds. So I think this can be the end of my recording. I have a bit of a friendsgiving that's starting in like 3 hours, so I'm gonna go help my wife get ready for that instead of being cooped up in here playing a tournament all day. So thank you for watching. I don't know when this video is going up, but it's cool to get to record stuff like this. It's not all that often I have the time to sit down and just record one of these tournaments. A lot of times I feel like streaming is more valuable, but with these higher stake events, I feel like I do lose equity just like posting what I'm playing basically by streaming. So this is kind of a good way to still show you all the event while giving myself the best chance to do well in these events. I really want to do well. And so let me know if you like this. I might do this some more. We'll see. But thank you for tuning in. I've been Aspiring Spike. Bye.